What's up? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel Sports, Life, and Politics TV. Today is January 10th. I'm Samuel Koppel, and I'm here for the news. And over the past several days, we've got more and more information about this case with Bryan Kohberger and the roommates. And from the very beginning, I questioned those roommates. As you can see this video over to the left, 4 Idaho students killed, roommates questioned. I made that video in November. I think maybe one day after the murders happened. And they said 2 roommates were also in there and didn't die. And I said, something just ain't quite sitting right with me. With these people and his roommates. And how the police is handling this. Because how does a killer come in a house, kill 4 people, run into one of the girls in the hallway, and don't kill her? Now, I don't know if the police department or FBI or all the groups, law enforcement groups that were involved in the investigation of this case have put on a lie detector test or something of that sort to prove for a fact that neither one of these roommates knows anything. Highly suspicious. Like I said on this channel, this is a channel where you come to play couch detective. Something we all love to do. I just watched Glass Onions, the sequel to Knives Out. Fun and enjoyable. My wife loves to watch murder mysteries, First 48. All those shows where people kill their significant others. I can't think of the name of the shows, but you know what I'm talking about. All those shows on Lifetime and all these shows where you try to figure out and get to the bottom of who did what. America's favorite pastime. Even in books, people love murder mysteries to try to solve the crime. And in this crime, we are not being given all of the details that we need to be given. There's no doubt about that. But this affidavit has dropped and more shocking information has come out. Now we know for a 100% fact that when the murderer came in contact with one of the roommates, he didn't harm her. He walked right out. And even more shocking, which is absolutely astounding, mind-boggling, and it melts the brain. From 4 in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, all the way to 12, I think, 11, 12 noon, she didn't call the cops. By God, something is rotten in Denmark. There's a rotten fish that's been left out of the refrigerator. There's a stinking body somewhere buried in the backyard. Everything is wrong about this. But let's take a look at this news clip.
Seems likely that maybe they were sleeping.
That was the narrative about the 4 college students killed in the King Road home that we heard for weeks. But the new arrest affidavit paints a very different story. A night that had everyone in their rooms or asleep much later, at 4 a.m., except for Xana, who ordered food on DoorDash. After that, a surviving roommate notes a series of sounds that woke her up. What she thought was Kaylee playing with her dog. The words, "There's someone here," crying from Xana's room, and a male voice saying something like, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." And then the most shocking of them all. According to the affidavit, the surviving roommate opens the door and sees what appears to be the killer, clad in black clothing with a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose, walking towards her.
Now, when she seen him walking towards her, how do you get all these details of bushy eyebrows? I guess if somebody walks right next to you, maybe. But I'm pretty sure it's dark and you're terrified. That's why I say, y'all, it's highly suspicious. Go back 10 seconds, but highly suspicious.
Opens the door and sees what appears to be the killer, clad in black clothing with a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose, walking towards her. She describes him as not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows, and stood in a frozen shock phase as he walked past her and back out the sliding glass door. She then locked herself in her room. 911 was not called until 11:58 that morning. But still, this
You got to be fucking kidding me. Even in the news media, they ask the questions, but they're not harping on that shit about these roommates. How can you hear somebody crying? You see a masked man walk by and you do nothing? You say what? Even if you locked the door and you were scared and feared, you would call the police. You would call somebody. Listen to me. You would call somebody, a boyfriend, a neighbor, anybody. But you telling me you call nobody? Unbelievable.
Interesting question of she didn't call the police, but it raises a question as what was happening in that period of time.
Obviously, you'd like to call right away, so you can have an immediate response and get on it. But unfortunately, we don't live in an ideal world.
Investigators at the scene found
An ideal world. Motherfucker, this is beyond common sense. This is beyond the pale of comparing this to just not an ideal world. That's absurd. Even, listen to me, even the way he moved in the chair, he knows. Watch how I read body language. That's why I make a great couch detective, just like some of you. But watch his body language. Watch how he's scooting the chair. He's uncomfortable. Watch this.
So you can have an immediate response and get on it. But unfortunately, we don't live in an ideal world.
You see how he's set up like that? That means like he's like, I don't understand that. That's something that's beyond comprehension. Even his body language was uncomfortable. Because everybody knows something ain't right.
traces of a possible suspect, a shoe print just outside the door of the surviving roommate's bedroom, and a knife sheath that had K-Bar and USMC on it. A single source of male DNA was also found on the button snap.
A very subtle finding, if you will, on the sheet to find his connection there, find the DNA, and I think that's the money.
As investigators scoured the neighborhood for cameras and clues, a car stuck out, the white Hyundai Elantra. It's the same car investigators asked for information about over and over again, insisting they wanted to speak to the occupants inside.
Do you believe that the killer was in that car?
You think that they were in the immediate area of the house, of the residence?
What we didn't know at the time was investigators knew it was Bryan Kohberger's car by November 29th.
He was under surveillance, I think, from the time that they realized that this is going to be where the evidence is leading them to.
On December 23rd, they got a search warrant for his cell phone records.
The data that is generated by a cell phone is quite alarming.
Those records put Kohberger near the crime scene at least 12 times before the murders. It's also in the area in the early morning hours of the crime and right after. Investigators believe the phone may have been turned off or in airplane mode in between.
We believe that he fled the scene according to the probable cause affidavit. They described the route that they believe he took based on surveillance video and just a knowledge of the area. This is the house where the murders happened. We believe he came out the back door and then left in this direction.
You can see on this map, police say Kohberger went way out of the way to get back to his home in Pullman, going down a country road and making it to his apartment around 5:30 a.m. 4.5 hours later, Kohberger's phone is near the Moscow house again from 9:12 to 9:21 a.m. and back home in Pullman by about 9:32.
Once again, he went back by the house. Now, mind you, the girl never called the police. So did he go back by the house and clean something up? Did him and the girl go in there? Because both of these rooms, by 9 o'clock, you wide awoke. There's no way you seen a masked man in your house, heard somebody crying, and then you just fall back to sleep. So you telling me, no disrespect, but this bitch took a nap after a masked man was in the house? I'm telling y'all, I think one of them roommates knew him. They say he had been by that house 12 times, in or around that house 12 times. Then he went back by the house again after murdering 4 people? You gotta be kidding me. I'm telling y'all,
Later that day, there is another 3-hour window where the phone was out of service again. Investigators say that is consistent with the same location as the phone after the murders, perhaps retracing his steps one last time. And between November 29th and November 23rd, authorities surveilled Kohberger's car using license plate readers and cameras. And they got even more information during 2 traffic stops in Indiana on December 15th, when Kohberger and his father were pulled over for minor infractions.
Where are you headed?
When investigators confirmed Kohberger's car was in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, things escalated. On December 27th, agents recovered trash from the Kohberger family home and sent it to the Idaho State Crime Lab for testing. It came back as a profile matching the DNA of Kohberger's biological father, a match for the DNA left on the knife sheath.
They have his DNA at the crime scene, they have his car in and around the crime scene, they have his phone not active around the crime scene. So all of those things work to put him there, but the essential question really is why?
Thank you for watching. Go to
Man, like I said before, to me personally, these murders was ritualistic in nature. The address is 1122 equals 33. The door number was 6. So, I mean, you know, I'll always leave room that I could be wrong, but something's going on. It still ain't adding up. Why this house? Why them people? How did he know to get in? Why did he come back? Why the police wasn't called for so goddamn long? I mean, it's ridiculous. Just so many unanswered questions. So many unanswered questions. We're going to move on to the next news clip. Utah father killed wife, mother-in-law, and 5 children. Now, I've said this several times in other news clips that I've went over, that there's a demonic spirit over the United States. And there's nothing nobody can do at this point to stop it. Anytime a man is willing to kill his own 5 children, his wife, and their mother-in-law, that's a sick and demented man. To look your own children in the face and pull the trigger, that's beyond the pale. I mean, trying to comprehend that is just, I guess it's just not for us layman folks, us common folks, us people with some dignity in. I mean, I don't know how you do it, but I've had so many news clips of fathers killing their whole family. And I don't want to put race into it, but most of them has been white males, white men who have done this. I don't even want to call them men. That's a male. And I don't want to put that like I'm putting it on all white men or just white men do it, because that's not true. But a lot of the cases have been white males who have done such things. And if you don't have a spiritual foundation and something that you can believe in and something that you can grab onto when you get frustrated or when you're at your wit's end, or something that that you have a belief in and believe that if I do this, my soul is damned forever. If you don't have that belief, you can do anything. I mean, you can be a cannibal, you could be a molester, you could be a serial sexual assaulter. It doesn't matter. But let's take a look at this clip. Terrible. Prayers to the rest of the family who left to endure that. You know, that's something that you take a lifetime to get over. Let's take a look.
Now at 10:30, tragedy in southern Utah after police say a father shoots and kills his wife, mother-in-law, and 5 children before turning the gun on himself. Investigators say the killings came 2 weeks after his wife had filed for divorce.
Tonight, a tight-knit community is in shock, stunned that something like this could happen. Courtney Johns has the latest.
I'm still trying to process the fact that she's gone and that her kids are gone.
Becky Thurgood has known Tasha Haight since the two were both pregnant for the first time.
She was quick-witted. She could make you laugh so easily. She was a rock for me during some hard times for me. And she was always a soundboard for me. She was a light, just a joy to be around.
At one point, they lived just a block away from each other.
She and I'd go for walks every morning with our babies.
She says she can't understand.
And let me say this. Sometimes women destroy their own relationships, maybe boredom or what have you. And sometimes men, there are men who are toxic. You know what I mean? This is not a manosphere channel or a woman bashing channel. This is a pro-truth channel. And the truth is, if she was willing to leave her husband and go out on her own with 5 kids, believe me, she wasn't looking to read. It ain't like there's a bunch of men lined up to remarry her. He was a toxic individual. And the proof is in the pudding. He killed his whole family. So I'm pretty sure he said demonic things that she just couldn't believe, things that years ago that she just started putting together. We're like, I got to get out of here. I got to leave this man. And while doing that, she had to realize that this was probably a possibility, because nobody knows you better than your significant other. And for a man to do that, it's unbelievable. Like I said, this is not a woman hating channel, a man hating channel, or be on the man's side and everything. Don't leave your husband. There are circumstances where a woman should leave a man. Now, there is a high divorce rate, and I don't agree with giving up on marriage for the smallest, pettiest reasons, because you just are bored or you just ain't as happy. But there are individuals who are toxic as hell, and he seemed like to be one of them. Proof being.
What happened? Police saying they believe Tasha's husband, Michael Haight, shot her, their 5 children, and her mother before turning the gun on himself.
It's a shock. I'm baffled by it.
Becky didn't know him well, but she knew Tasha had filed for divorce last month.
She was just ready to move on into a new chapter of her life with her kids, and her 2 oldest were ready for it as well.
That chapter ended with
And the older children, they younger kids, they don't understand a lot of times what's going on, all the dynamics. But shit, when kids get 13, 14, 15, they start understanding. They start seeing who the real monster is. They start seeing who the real bully is. They start seeing who's has all the real problems. They start picking a side. Because the kids, they can see. They can see who the disaster is. They can see who's kicking mom when she down, or when mom's kicking dad. They can see which parent is who's who. So the 2 oldest was ready to go. And before they can get out of there, he murdered them all. What a coward.
so many unanswered questions. Becky finds solace in her faith.
And that's the only comfort that I'm feeling at this time, is knowing that they're at peace and they're together and they're missed.
President Joe Biden, along with Dr. First Lady Jill Biden, are offering their condolences, calling this incident a tragedy.
Tragedy? It was, no doubt about it. But this is happening more and more. The lack of spiritual foundation, belief in God, this being a Luciferian society that we have started to all endure and become a part of, unfortunately, you have to try to find that base of belief. But let's go on to the next case. As you can see, I made this video, maybe about 3-4 months ago. Cannibalism is on the rise in America. Who's ready for dinner? And as you can see on the picture, I have Jeffrey Dahmer, I have Hannibal Lecter, I have this young actress from the TV show iZombie. And in America, like I just was saying, this is a demonic country. This is Babylon. This is ancient Mesopotamia. This is Rome all over again. Because there's all type of witchcraft and Satanism and belief in spiritual rocks and stones and energy, all this energy stones and all this bullshit. But let's take a look at this. A funeral home owner accused of selling body parts gets 20 years in prison. As well they should. Now I want you to know, when they say selling body parts, they're going to sell you on that they're just selling them to like people who are like as a cadaver, or somebody to do like some experiments or studies. No, some of these body parts were frozen. used for consumption. Some of these body parts were frozen and unfrozen, used for sexual rituals. All type of things are happening with these body parts that were being sold. And I did another video on this too, talking about this, but this was the most recent one I did on cannibalism, on the rise in America, who's ready for dinner. Great video. Check it out. But we're going to go into this, take a look at this clip, funeral home owner accused of selling body parts.
2 funeral home operators from Montrose now facing long prison terms. Megan Hess and her mother, Shirley Koch, ran the Sunset Mesa Funeral Home on the Western Slope. Now, they're accused of selling body parts for research without their clients' knowledge and then providing fake ashes to families. Both pled guilty to charges of mail fraud and illegal transportation of hazardous material. Yesterday, a federal judge sentenced Hess to 20 years in prison and Koch to 15 years.
And like I said before, those videos, it wasn't just normal things happening, you guys. It was all type of sick, disgusting, and vile cannibalism, sexual rituals, all type of stuff that you could at the church of, the Church of Satan for black mass, man, all type of shit. You'd be surprised. See, we never get to see who they sold it to in these people's social media and their religious black backgrounds and beliefs. You don't get to see none of that. They just tell you we arrested some owners for selling some body parts. They keep it vague and straight to the point. But it's a reason why they gave these motherfuckers 20 years. And ain't no telling what they were doing with the body parts. My goodness. Sad, sad world. Let's take a look at this clip. From the Russian-Ukraine war, some drones used against Ukraine had technology made by the U.S. Of course it did. We know that America has been known to fund 2 sides of a war. On this one, they'll say that it was through happenstance, accidental. Wasn't on purpose. Maybe so, maybe not. But the truth is, the United States have done it before. So let's take a look.
Now to the war in Ukraine, a White House national security official said today that the U.S. is looking into sanctions to target the production of Iranian drones Russia is using to attack civilians in Ukraine. It may surprise you that some of those drones include computer parts made right here in the U.S. and European nations. CBS's Chris Livesay has our investigation from inside Ukraine.
They menace Ukraine's skies, killing hundreds and scarring millions. But while the drones are Russian and Iranian, key technology is European and American. The Ukrainian government showed us photos of components produced by U.S. companies Maxim and Microchip, retrieved from Russian and Russian-modified Iranian drones.
So what are we looking at here? So this is Orlan 10. It is a basic...
And let me tell you this. This was no surprise to the American government, allegedly. This is no surprise to them. They knew the drones that were being used, that were made in Iran. They would know before anybody that the drones that Iran was giving to Russia was helped be made by the United States and companies out of the United States. They knew that from the beginning. They was just hope that they hoped that it wouldn't come out, but they probably knew eventually it would, because obviously some of these drones are going to crash. They're not going to be completely blown apart, and you're going to be able to retrieve them, and you're going to be able to look and see who made what components.
Russian UAV.
Ukrainian drone specialist Pavlo Kashcha shows us the chip inside. The logo reads U-Blocks, a Swiss company.
So without this chip, the plane doesn't know where to fly.
The same kind of chips are found inside smartphones, tablets, cars, potentially anything used with satellite navigation. But in Ukraine, Russia is using them to tap into GLONASS, Moscow's answer to GPS. Ukrainian lawmaker Yaroslav Yaroshin says at least 6 American companies produce GLONASS-compatible chips.
Microchip technology, Chandler, Arizona. That's my hometown. So to be clear, civilians are being killed.
Yes. And what we can do, we can stop to sell these chips.
None of the American companies agreed to an interview or would answer whether they do business in Russia. U-Blocks, the maker of the Swiss chip we saw, says they cut ties with Russian companies at the start of the war. But CBS has seen recent customs forms that show components from the US and Europe are still making it into Russia today through distributors in third-party countries.
That's what in layman terms, that's called a loophole. So we cut it off and say, hey, we're not going to sell it. We're out. We're not selling to Russia no more. We don't want nobody to think that we're helping fight the war against the Ukrainians. But you know what? We still got to make money. These companies are all about money. They don't give a fuck about the war. War is money. So they went through other countries. You go through back channels to get that shit sold. So that's exactly what they did.
The microchips are going indirectly to Russia through China, through Malaysia and other third countries.
So are you saying that countries like China are laundering this technology for Russia?
Of course, yeah.
The companies argue it's intended for civilians, but that doesn't stop Russia from using it to kill.
If those companies were in this room, what would you tell them?
I want to ask if they really want to see their logos here. That is the question.
Chris Livesay, CBS News, Kyiv.
Well, it's a little bad press, but the money got to keep flowing, y'all. Period, point blank. They don't give a fuck about all that. Let's take a look at this. Las Vegas, it gives a little bit of a couple clips out of Vegas. Las Vegas sex offender accused of recording boys in bathrooms. Look, y'all, this country is full of sickos, pedophiles, and disgusting human beings. You got this man, Mr. Constipated, he looked like he ain't shit in a week, recording small young boys in a bathroom. Now, hopefully when he gets to jail, they tax his ass, they beat the brakes off of him, and somebody be fucking on him. See how he like it.
Police allege a Las Vegas sex offender recorded young boys in a California bathroom and filmed several sex assaults. Our 8 News Now investigators learning Metro Police arrested the 53-year-old last week. And detectives say data on his phone revealed he allegedly made videos of sexually assaulting a child. Now, in August, police in Newport Beach, California, received a call about someone recording young boys in a public bathroom, and they believe it's the same person. A judge here setting bail at a $500,000 bail.
Absolutely disgusting, y'all. Absolutely disgusting. Hopefully they beat the brakes off of him. Hopefully they don't put him in what they call solitary confinement. They need to put him in there with the popular, general population, and he gets everything he deserves. Now we got Justin Victory here. He's out in Henderson, which is on the east side of Las Vegas. I stay on the west side in Summerlin, and he was accused of breaking into several homes. And you got Justin look like his mother and his dad were both cousins. You can tell because one ear is higher than the other. His head seems slightly whopped, and he looked like he was come right off the movie The Hills Have Eyes. So let's take a look.
The suspect in connection with several armed burglaries in the early morning of New Year's Eve. Police say 40-year-old Justin Victory broke into or tried to break into multiple homes near Galleria in the 95. He was booked into the Henderson Detention Center on multiple counts of robbery and attempted robbery with a deadly weapon.
And as you can see in his eyes, it looked like he still got a little pepper spray in there. They should have beat the brakes off of him, but it is what it is.
Burglary while possessing a gun.
It is what it is. And I'm going to end this video off with prayers up to everybody in California. Obviously, California is being slammed by what they call an atmospheric river. They got all these different names for this weather pattern. Me personally, putting on my Negro Damas cap, I think they're playing with the weather. That's just me. I have several videos of people and government officials saying that they need to seed the clouds for the drought. So are they seeding the clouds over the Pacific Ocean? I say yes. These floods are unprecedented. These floods are going down in the record books of history of the most water in a shorter period of time. You have Stockton, Sacramento, San Francisco, Los Angeles, all up in San Diego, all up and down the coast of California, all in the Sierra Mountains. It is records amounts of snow, records amounts of water. Me personally, I think they're playing with the clouds. But regardless of the fact, we have no control over that. But I do want to send my thoughts and prayers out to everybody in California.
Pummeled in
especially friends and family.
California, a massive trail of destruction as emergency calls poured in.
Multiple injuries,
sunrise, the brunt of the deadly storm tore across the state. In San Francisco, a family trapped in a car, finally freed by firefighters. Further north, a 2-year-old child killed by a falling tree.
When I first arrived on scene, a frantic father came out of the house holding the child.
While 21 million remain under a flood watch, wind shredded the region up to 106-mile-an-hour gusts in the mountains.
Tree down, put a tree down on a person at the zoo.
You wake up.
You see 106 miles. That's damn near hurricane force winds in the mountains. Telling y'all, I did a video. I should have had it pulled up already on cloud seeding. I've done a video on Operation Popeye. You don't believe me? You can Google Operation Popeye in Vietnam, where they played with the clouds and they was causing monsoon seasons to extend out for long periods of time, trying to flood out the Viet Cong, the North Vietnamese. But yeah, they play with the weather. There's no doubt about it. That's a fact. That's not theory. That's not my tinfoil kufi. Ain't none of that shit. That's factual. They do play with the weather.
This morning you walk out the front door, what do you see?
Oh my God, this thing. I had to do a double take. It was like a bomb went off.
As authorities fear landslides, the atmospheric river that caused the torrential rain is part of a Pineapple Express. Now as first responders race to washed out roads, down trees, and damaged homes, the cleanup begins, just as another storm rolls in.
Tonight there's concern there could be additional fatalities. Crews are still combing through the damage left behind.
But prayers up to everybody in California. I've been telling people for the longest, be safe, be prepared. I've had videos on lack of preparation, especially for the Negroes. Hey, be prepared for some shit in case it comes. Try to get your little generator. Try to make sure you got long burning candles. Make sure you have food stashed away. Make sure you have the bare essentials that you can survive at least about a week until they get things back right and try to get things back prepared. Maybe even a month out. But, you know, who listens to me? You know what I mean? But I still pray for everybody, especially my friends and family, but to everybody in California who's dealing with that weather. Prayers up to you. Be safe out there. And I appreciate you guys tuning in, man. Sports, Life, Politics TV. Hit that like. Hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on one hell of a We Living in Babylon ride. Peace.